Are the United States and China destined for war? This is not a hypothetical question. It is the most important question of the 21st century, because the answer will determine whether your children grow up in peace or in the shadow of World War III. Graham Allison, one of the world's leading scholars on great power politics, has spent his career studying this question. He examined the last 500 years of history. He found 16 cases where a rising power threatened to displace an established one. In 12 of those cases, 75%, the result was war. Today, we are living through the 17th case. China is rising. America is established. And history gives a chilling answer. War is likely, but not inevitable. This is the Thucydides trap, and understanding it might be the only way to escape it. 2,500 years ago, a Greek historian named Thucydides tried to answer a question. Why did Athens and Sparta, two powers that had coexisted for decades, suddenly plunge into a catastrophic 30-year war? His answer was elegant and terrifying. It was the rise of Athens and the fear that this instilled in Sparta that made war inevitable. The rising power, the established power, and the fear between them. This is the Thucydides trap, and according to Graham Allison, it's happening again today. Allison is a Harvard professor, former Pentagon official, and national security advisor. In 2017, he published a book called Destined for War: Can America and China Escape Thucydides' Trap? In it, he asked, how many times in history has a rising power threatened an established one? And what happened? His research team scanned 500 years of modern history. From 1500 to today, they found 16 cases, and in each case, there was structural tension between the rising power and the established power. In 12 of the 16 cases, the result was war. 75%. This is not a prediction. This is a historical pattern. And today, America and China are living through the 17th case of this pattern. So what were these 16 cases? And why did most end in war? Here are a few examples. 1. Portugal versus Spain. 15th century, Portugal was rising at sea. Spain was the established power. Result, conflict and rivalry. The Pope mediated, but tensions lasted for years. 2. France versus the Habsburgs. 16th century, France was rising in Europe. The Habsburg Empire dominated. Result, the 30 Years' War. A third of Europe's population died. 3. Germany versus Britain. Early 20th century, Germany rapidly industrialized and began to overtake Britain economically. Britain was the leader of global naval power and empire. Germany started building its fleet. Britain saw this as a threat. Result, World War I. 10 million dead. 4. Soviet Union versus USA. Mid-20th century. The Soviets emerged as a superpower. After World War II, America became the leader of the established liberal order. Ideological enmity was deep. The nuclear arms race began. Result, the Cold War. But no actual war. This last case is important because this is one of the 4 cases where a rising power displaced an established one, but they avoided war. Why did they avoid it? Allison identifies several factors. First, nuclear deterrence. Both sides knew war meant mutual annihilation. Second, leadership. Kennedy, Khrushchev, Reagan, Gorbachev all chose to avoid war. Third, luck. Many moments, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, could have been catastrophic, but they weren't. But here's the problem. You can't count on luck. And history says even in the best-case scenario, war is avoided only one time in 4. 75% of the time, war happens. So, what does the Thucydides trap look like today? According to Allison, there are 2 dynamics. Dynamic 1, China's rise is an objective fact. In 1980, China's economy was 10% the size of America's. Today, measured by purchasing power parity, it's larger. China is the world's largest exporter, the world's largest manufacturing power, the world's largest trading partner for 128 countries. Militarily, China is still behind America, but it's catching up fast. Defense spending has increased tenfold in 30 years. It launched its first aircraft carrier. It's developing hypersonic missiles. It's testing weapons in space. China is no longer a regional power. It's a global rival. Dynamic 2. America is afraid. This is not about China's intentions. It's about structural power shift. America has been the unquestioned leader since 1945. The dollar, NATO, the UN Security Council, the IMF, the World Bank. America built and controlled all these institutions. But now, China is building alternatives. The Belt and Road Initiative, its own infrastructure network, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, an alternative to the IMF, CIPS, an alternative to SWIFT, Digital Yuan, an alternative to the dollar. China is not just joining the game, it's building its own game. This terrifies Washington, because if China builds its own system, America loses influence. And as Thucydides said, fear is what makes war inevitable. If America and China go to war, it will probably be over Taiwan. Why? Because Taiwan is existential for both sides. For China, Taiwan is central to the One China policy. Beijing sees Taiwan as a breakaway province. Xi Jinping wants reunification to be his legacy. If Taiwan declares independence, Beijing has said it will use military force. For America, Taiwan is a democracy. America has symbolically committed to defending it. Taiwan produces 92% of advanced semiconductors. The American economy depends on this. If Taiwan falls, America's Asian alliance system collapses. Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, all will question America's commitment. So Taiwan is non-negotiable. It's a red line for both sides, and that makes it the place where the Thucydides trap closes. History says wars often start not from deliberate choices, but from accidents. In 1914, no one wanted a world war, but an assassination in Sarajevo triggered a domino effect. Today, a Taiwan crisis could do the same. A Chinese ship gets too close to a US ship. A collision happens. A Chinese warplane violates Taiwan airspace. Taiwan shoots it down. China launches a cyber attack. America retaliates. None of these is intended to start a war. But in the Thucydides trap, intentions don't matter. Structural forces do. And structural forces are pushing America and China toward conflict. So, is it inevitable? Allison says no, but it's not easy. History shows four paths. Path 1, the established power steps back. Britain did this in the early 20th century. When America rose, Britain peacefully transferred leadership. Why? Because America was an ally and a democracy. Will this work for China? Unlikely, because China is not America's ally or democracy. Path 2, the rising power slows down. Japan did this in 1990. Its economy was booming and on track to surpass the US. Then it stalled. The lost decade. Japan is no longer a threat. Will this work for China? Probably not. China is not as fragile as Japan. It's bigger, more diverse, more resilient. Path 3. Both sides find a common enemy. During the Cold War, the US and USSR never fought because nuclear catastrophe was the bigger threat. Will this work for China? Maybe. Climate change, pandemics, AI risks, common threats could force cooperation. Path 4. Extraordinary leadership. Reagan and Gorbachev ended the Cold War because they showed courage. They were open to compromise. They were flexible. Will this work for China? This is the hardest path because leadership is unpredictable. And today, leaders are under nationalist and domestic pressures. The Thucydides trap is not a prophecy. It's a warning. History says that when rising powers threaten established ones, war is likely, but not inevitable. 4 times, leadership, luck, and deterrence prevented war. The question is, can America and China be the 5th case? The answer depends on leadership, strategy, and luck. What should America do? Accept China's rise, but resist expansionism. Cooperate with allies. Maintain deterrence, but avoid escalation. Clarify red lines on Taiwan. What should China do? Be patient. Don't directly threaten America. Assert regional dominance, but not global hegemony. Accept real red lines on Taiwan. What should both do? Keep communication channels open. Establish crisis mechanisms to prevent accidents. Find common threats like climate, pandemics, AI. This is doable, but it's not easy because the Thucydides trap is a structural problem. Leaders come and go, but the dynamics remain. China will keep rising. America will want to stay on top. Fear will grow. And history says fear leads to war. But history also says war is not inevitable. 4 times it was avoided. There can be a 5th time, but only if both sides understand the trap and choose to escape it. The clock is ticking. This is episode 4 of US versus China, the New World Order. If you want to understand the forces reshaping the 21st century, the economic wars, the tech battles, the military standoffs, subscribe now. We'll break down the strategies, expose the miscalculations, and predict the future. Because the New World Order is being written right now, and you need to know what's coming.